Hi everyone, this is Chantay, aka Shantizi. Welcome to my analysis on Tuesday, June 9th, 2020. Every Tuesday, like I said, is always a jam-packed day. It was also Super Tuesday in states like Nevada, Georgia, forgot some other states that was doing elections. I literally forgot off the top of my head, but those states were doing election. Also today was the funeral of George Floyd. He was laid to rest next to his mother in Texas. And some more other things that have came up, but please bear with me as I lay out these things. You can also use the Q&A button to ask a question. You could drop in the comments below if you want to, as you know, just in case you have a question. Hopefully I can answer it to the best of my ability to answer all of your questions. So let me just get to this thing. So we're still in the midst of a health crisis, which is the coronavirus, aka COVID-19. COVID-19 stands for coronavirus disease of 2019 because the disease did originate in 2019. So off the territory of China, and then it moved from Wuhan, and then it just spread all around the world. So here we have it. So COVID cases in the United States is 1,977,000. It's 1,977,077 cases in the country. So the cases have jumped due to some states have reopening fast. And there's cases that's rising in different states, as well as the death toll is 111,876. So it's almost near 112. So we have surpassed the death toll throughout the whole entire world, because I can read you the stats now. So we surpassed the UK, which is at 40,968. Brazil is 38,406. Italy is 34,043. And France has 29,299. And we have no mass testing here. I don't know, their testing strategy may be stronger overseas, but we have no mass testing here. And we're the richest nation in the world. We could have a mass testing, but when you have a leader in the White House who doesn't believe in science, who tells you to use disinfectants to cure the disease or wait for warmer weather and that we may not need the vaccine, that's a big problem. That should drive everybody to vote. I understand people, wanted certain candidates. I wanted a black woman in the office because I am anti-white men in political power. People may think it's racist, but it's just my view. I feel like women will do a better job, and mostly black women, to me, will do a better job running the country versus a white man. Because white men have led us to wars, led us to all kinds of stuff, which is true. Even some of the quote-unquote good presidents. So that's just my opinion. But we got to hold his feet to the fire. We got to make it better. We got to press the fact that we need a black woman as our VP, because we had an African-American president. And how did we scale back? Because of white anger. Because it was true. It was white anger. So now that we have to, we got to vote. It's just plain and simple. Simple as that. And we got to get this man out of here. But I'm going to get to Trump soon, because he did some really deplorable shit today. Like, it was the most deplorable thus far, because nothing does shock me, but this here was completely deplorable. But moving right along to Andrew Cuomo's briefing. So he had a briefing today. He did address some things that he wanted to do in terms of, aggressive action and criminal justice reform. I list some of the stuff here. He wants to pass the transparency of the 50A law, which is a disciplinary records of cops and everything, which it has been repealed, as I learned 10 minutes or 15 minutes ago on Twitter. So Andrew Cuomo did post it. The state legislature passed it, and he will sign it into law this week. I'm assuming if not tomorrow, then probably before Friday. So that's good, but we need more progress. Also, ban chokeholds throughout the state, even though chokeholds have been banned, but not on a state level. It needs to be banned on the state level. And it's going to be banned on a national level if hopefully that CBC legislation does get passed. Our AG, which is Letitia James, she's also known as Tish James, will act as the special prosecutor. So thus far, one of the officers got arrested today. I believe that pushed a protester in Brooklyn. I don't know. He's charged with 3rd-degree assault. I feel like that assault should have been moved up to 2nd degree or 1st degree, because he pushed her. He may hurt her head. Or she may have back problems or suffering from back problems later on in life. Because just because somebody fell to the floor doesn't mean they suffer later on in life with different injuries. Also, false race-based 911 reporting. That is due to the Amy Cooper situation, what she did to Christian Cooper, who is a bird watcher and a biomedical editor. So that should be signed into law. And due to legislators such as Senate Assembly Leader Andrea Stewart, excuse me, I'm getting the name mixed up. Andrea Stewart Cousins and Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie. Carl Hastie, I believe, is a Bronx Assemblyman. I'm not quite as sure, but I know Ms. Cousins is a state legislator up in she represents the Westchester County. So they have been working on these legislations to get passed, and they're probably going to work on a series of criminal justice reform and also policing reform as well. And the criminal justice reform and the racial and the systematic racism that's been going on. So they're going to try to address those issues, and that includes child poverty. That includes education inequity, basically fair education for kids in all kids in different income areas will get the same quality of education, which that has been a long-standing issue. I was very lucky. I was not part of no MECO program. I was not part of anything. My mom sent me to school downtown along with my sisters because my father's mother worked for the Board of Ed, so we were very lucky to go to school outside of our neighborhoods because I would have went to my zone school in Harlem. Also, affordable housing, expand the funding, make it a state thing, and then hopefully it becomes a federal thing. And as criminal justice reform, he's gonna detail that more. He also said that this is just a stepping stone. Please don't, this should not be a one issue thing. This thing should be ongoing. Just because there's protests and the protests die down doesn't mean you still pass a serious laws, because this is important. This has been going on for decades. Decades. It's been going on before I was born. It was going around when the time when my parents were growing up. Because my parents are baby boomers. They grew up in the 60s. They saw the whole civil rights thing. They saw the killings of Medgar Evers, JFK, Malcolm X, King, and Robert Kennedy. But Robert Kennedy was more of a guy who actually advocated more for civil rights. Those five try to get us the rights that we try to get. And they were all killed for it. So, my parents saw the riots. They saw buildings burning. And then throughout the 70s, it was a bad economic depression. Drugs came in and came out. And then, of course, you had an AIDS epidemic. My parents went through... They saw everything, but this here is something that is like, whoa. It's almost reminding them of around that time. And I can understand because the time that they grew up. This is the first time I saw a rise like this since 9/11, since, the Ferguson protesters and the rise of the Black Lives Matters movement. So, this here is important. He also criticized Donald Trump's tweet, which I'm about to get into. He calls it cruel and mean and a dumb comment. And so that's what he said. And he also addressed the COVID issue. He said that Long Island will be reopening in phase 2 tomorrow. Also, the LIR will open. Also, the Metro North will be back on schedule. Hand sanitizers will be disseminated. And in terms of New York City, we have interphase one yesterday. And according to the number of tests yesterday, the Bronx tested 3,214 people. Only 75 people out of those people were tested. Manhattan tested 3,953 people, and only 41 was tested. Staten Island tested 5,277 people, and only 97 people was tested. Oh no, that was Queens. Sorry, Queens tested. That number. 5,277 people, only 97 people were tested. And Staten Island tested 896 people, and 20 was tested. And Brooklyn tested 99 people, and 107 was tested. So overall, the testing percentage has been under 2% pretty much, or under 5%, which is good. There's still boroughs that's still affected. I read the numbers yesterday. You can look at it online. But the positivity rate as of for New York City, it's 20%. So that's a long way from 57% to 20%. It's actually not that bad. But the state has added more testing sites, and Sean Penn, who's an actor, he's also have an organization called CORE. He's a co-founder and a board member, is helping with the implementation of the testing sites. And also as of NYC did test it overall 18,000, almost 19,000 people. 340 people was tested, and it's under, like I said, it's under 2%. So for more for that, you can check online with his briefing. His briefing is not as long. In terms of now, I'm going to switch gears into politics. I watched George Floyd's funeral. It was a beautiful service. It reminds me of a church service because I am a church girl. I am a Baptist girl. Baptist Save, Saint, and Holified. Some of the songs I knew because I used to sing it. I sung it with my choir before. The sermon was great. It was like about a 40 minute sermon. It was not that long, which was good because my attention wasn't drifted. He basically, his knee was on it. He basically almost preached the same sermon that he preached last Thursday. So it was a really good sermon. You could check out the sermon online, but it was a beautiful sermon and addressed that we need to do more. And he did take some jabs at Donald Trump in his sermon, but it was a very powerful message and a very powerful sermon. Now, I shouldn't be critical of a homegoing service, but in this case, we're still in the midst of COVID, and I understand that you want to lay your family to rest, but there was people that were hugging each other. There was people that were shaking hands. There were people with masks, but there was people that were shaking hands and hugging each other. So here's my issue with that. We're still in the midst of COVID. Just because, George Floyd died, if George Floyd was alive or his mom was alive, no one should not be shaking hands, doing none of that nonsense at all. There was a lot of people that spoke. I don't mind people speaking. His family had a right to speak. Maybe mostly his niece and, his siblings. But there was other folks that spoke, other pastors that spoke and spoke longer than the person that's supposed to be doing the eulogy. I have maybe because I sat through enough funerals where there was on a time constraint. People were not following the pastors that was presiding over the funeral. Some of them was not following directions. Some of them was not exiting the right way. I understand, like I say, you grieving, but there is directions that have to be followed because they're under time constraints, and I think they went back a little with their time constraint. Hopefully they got that worked out. But we're still in the midst of COVID, and hopefully those people that attend the service do get tested tomorrow. So because symptoms does show in the next 7 to 14 days. And a lot of this COVID outbreaks have been coming from massive church services. And some of those folks in there were at a high-risk age group. Some of them folks look like they were over 65 in there. They should got tested. That's all I'm saying. But moving right along, there were also protesters for him to get justice, which that's going to be going on along until he actually gets the justice that he get. Which I won't be surprised. Hopefully some of these protesters, like I said, they do get tested, because Andrew Cuomo said in his briefing that he has 15 sites designated just for protesters to get tested. So if you protested in New York City, please go get a test. There are 15 sites. You can look it up online. Go to health.nyc. No, is it coronavirus.health.nyc.ny.gov. Excuse me. You can Google the testing. You can Google the testing site and go right and get a test if you protested. In terms of Biden made a speech. It was a very powerful speech. Some people still, not sold on the speech. Don't be fooled, blah, 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 blah. I get it. I understand it. Like I said, I did not have a primary. My initial person to support was Kamala Harris, but obviously that did not work out. However, not saying everybody got to coalesce, but we have to hold his feet to the fire. And yes, he should pick a black woman, and not just any black woman. He doesn't need a too far left progressive woman, because that can damage a ticket. He don't need a too moderate person, because that can damage the ticket. So that's just my opinion, and that's just my analysis on everything. Maybe people think I'm crazy, maybe you think I'm cynical, but it's the truth. So the CBC was also there. Like I said, they made some statements. Now getting to this awful man's tweet. I don't have the tweet in front of me, but I posted on my feed. This man basically accused a 75-year-old man that was pushed to the ground, as we saw the whole video that went viral, saying that he was part of Antifa and that he pushed the cop before he was shoved, and he fell harder than he was pushed. This is a 75-year-old man activist. And if he was a part of Antifa, I don't believe he was, but if he was, so goddamn what? This man was out here protesting for people like me to have the full rights, because I couldn't protest because I'm immunocompromised, along with people in my family. So this white man is out here, 75 years old, at a high-risk age group, could have COVID, getting into, just advocating for us. He got pushed and he fell hard. He's old. When you push an older person over 65, they're going to fall. They don't have enough balance. Their bones are weaker than a young person like me. So for Donald Trump to say some deplorable shit like that should let people know right there, it's time to vote this man out. Like I said, I understand everybody, don't have their candidate that they want. But I cannot live another 4 years of a racist, deplorable con man from Queens who says a lot of racist things and has said a lot of racist things for a very long time. He's been saying racist things since I was a child. In the 90s. And even before that, he was saying racist shit from the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, 2000s, and he's saying it right now. And the fact that he got on this old white man saying he's part of Antifa because he's marching for people like me to have racial justice and equality in the criminal justice system and all other systems, housing, jobs, equal pay. Because this thing is not just about criminal justice that man marched for. And I appreciate him. He fell, he in the hospital, he could have died for all we care. And you want to tell him about he fell harder than he did? Basically, he's saying that he deserved it. You know what? Nothing surprised me of Donald Trump, but the fact is that people still support this man shows that how deplorable they are. And I will never have respect for their ideology. Moving right along. There is voter suppression happening in Georgia. I took a little note on that. And the where is that information? There we go. So that information says Georgia's catastrophe largely minority neighborhoods sparked investigation. They want to have an investigation. That's what the Secretary of State said. But it's like in DeKalb County, what is it? Is another county, Fulton County, because those are counties in Atlanta that are predominantly black. Had long lines for 3 hours. People were standing there from the morning when the sun rise until like probably like afternoon or evening. They say the machines are broken. People were cursing. People were restless. People were tired because they want to get this. They feel like when you go to the voting polls, it should be this, gone, boom. But it's like these Republicans in recent years have gerrymandered, have closed down polling sites, have made ballots hard, and have jacked machines up constantly. Wow, I didn't know that, Danella, in South Carolina. Damn. They have done so many things to suppress the vote and talking about voter ID. I never heard of that crap in my life. But now, like, this is happening, and this is happening as a young African-American woman in the 21st century is absolutely insane. This is why when you sit out an election, those things has consequences. And I tell all my friends, even some that are independent, that some that don't want to vote, this is the time now you can still register to vote. You can still register. Because we need all the people to vote. Because if you don't vote, we're going to end up in the same situation and this country might burn. And if I have children, I want my children to live in a world where they can trust the leader of the free world, that they don't have to be scared going outside their house to be called any kind of derogatory names, or be able to live in a society where they can speak freely and speak their mind, or think freely. This is the world we're living in, and I thought I was going to see change because when President Obama was there, I thought I was going to see so much change, and then you see all the white male anger, and even some of the white women that were angry. Even some black folks thought he didn't do nothing for them. Now they know that, oh shit, Trump didn't do nothing for me. Because black unemployment rate is at 16.8%. It's almost at 17%. And it was down. It was going down during the Obama years. Oh, wow, no handicap curbside combined voting? That's crazy. You know, like these Republicans, I hope they get a real dose of their medicine. I hope some of them GOP members leave, get voted out. I hope some of these GOP governors get voted out, Secretary of State, and all these GOP local officials. That's why you have to vote down ballot. And just don't vote every 4 years. Vote every election because every local state official counts. Because whatever goes on in your community, they're responsible for that shit. It's a lot of responsibility. They're responsible, like extremely responsible. And I need people to wake the hell up. Because voter suppression not just only happening in Georgia, it's not happening in South Carolina, it's happening in Nevada, Iowa, gerrymandering even happened in my city in New York. Because we used to have a state legislator that was Republican. Now the state legislator is Democratic. That's why half of these bills are passing through crazy with this whole wake of George Floyd's death. And let's not ignore Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor, who her killers is still on the loose. That's why those people in Louisville is not resting. They're still out there, and I commend them. I may not be protesting with you guys, but I am standing in solidarity with you. And guess what? This is my form of protest. Giving people information so they can reciprocate that and they can do their own research for their own self. I always tell people, just don't take words from my mouth. Do your own research too. Do your research too, because you need to be informed. Not just woke, but informed. Know the facts across the board before you make your own analysis and create conspiracy theories about coronavirus or about the voting, about the government, because I hear a lot of bullshit like that. And sometimes I just want to cut people off. Or I say, I'll speak to you another day, because don't tell me that coronavirus is man-made when people actually I knew personally that died. Old school neighbors from when I was a kid that died. Pastors I knew that died. Even some people I used to work for that now I have issues with got sick. Like, this is real. Coronavirus is real. Criminal justice stuff and racial inequality is real. It has been real for decades, and now change is going to come. I need people to wake up. Like what Spike Lee said in School Days, wake up. Get out of the sunken place of things are not going to change, because you're being pessimistic right now. Shit is real in the field. Wake up. Be informed, stay healthy, stay safe. Don't go to any church services that had a lot, because you will get sick. You will get sick. Watch a virtual service. Any good faith leader will tell you to stay home and watch me preach or hear me preach on the phone. It's okay. It's okay. You can worship the Lord in your house, because the Lord said He wants you to be safe and He wants you to be smart. It's not the exact words, but that's what He's saying. So my message to you, be safe, be blessed, be well, and wake up out of that sunken place. Thank you.